Hey there, we're all the way down now to Module 17, and we are talking in this section, which is Section 2, about what we call a VLOOKUP or a vertical lookup. You also have the ability to create what they call HLOOKUPs, and an HLOOKUP is a horizontal lookup. Basically what a VLOOKUP or horizontal lookup is you can tell Excel to look at a particular cell and then compare it to a table. In that table, it can look up a value vertically or horizontally and pull out something in the same row. Let me show you a little bit about how VLOOKUPs work, and this will make a little bit more sense to you. This is the exercise we used in Section 1 when we were looking through our if statements. We've gone through and we have a total for each of our salespeople in column E. Column F is where we figured out their commission, and now I want to figure out a bonus for each one of our salespeople. The way we're going to figure out the bonus is we're going to have Excel look at each person's total over in column E, and then they're going to compare it to this bonus table that you see right here, and they're going to use the first column to compare it. We're going to have it look for the closest number without going over, and then return a value over in the second column on the same row. When you're going to work with a VLOOKUP, you're telling Excel to vertically look in a table that you have somewhere. You do not have to have the table on this sheet. It could be on another sheet if you want. The one thing you'll want to do before you start writing your formula is go ahead and give your table a name. I'm going to go ahead and select, in this case, from I8 through J10. Notice I'm not selecting the word total or bonus because then it will want to look through that column and look through the cell that contains the word total, and we just want to look through the numbers here. Now I'm going to go back and name this. I'm going to go to the name box, and here I'm going to put in bonus underscore table. I'm going to hit the enter key, and remember I told you when you create a range name to go ahead and check it out and make sure it goes to the right place before you start actually doing something with it. And you can see that it does. It works perfectly. Now I don't have to name it, but if I didn't, when I'm actually setting up my criteria, then I'd have to make sure I say the absolute value of the range I8 through J10. And that can be a real pain, and you can forget the dollar signs and all that. So it's just easier to go ahead and name it before you start. I'm going to column G, and I'm going to just delete all of these. And let's start with Hanover in G6. I'm going to start with my equal sign. Now if I type VLOOKUP, then I have to know how to type the rest of the formula. It might be a little bit easier for you if you leave out the word VLOOKUP right now and just go ahead to your Formulas tab and use the Insert function to put it in that way. If you've recently used VLOOKUP, you'll see it in this list. If not, you might have to go to the category called All and look for it that way. Now if you read the definition with me, it says it looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table. It's going to look in this first column for the value that we specify, which will be each person's total. Then it's returning a value in the same row from a column that you specify. For example, if I look at this 52 for Monder, then what's going to happen is it's going to look in this first column. It's going to find the fact that Monder's over 50 but below 68, so he will get a 2 bonus. By default, the table must be sorted in ascending order. This column right here has to be in ascending order in order for this to work properly. Now I'm going to click OK, and here's where I put in what we call the function arguments. Notice the first 3 are bold because you have to give it that criteria, but the bottom one you don't have to. I'll explain that in a minute. The first thing it asks you to do is to tell it what you want it to look up. We're going to start with Hanover, so I want it to look in E6 where we have 103. That's all it wants to know is where is the value you want me to look up. The second field says where's the table you want me to look through. We can do a couple of things. We can start typing bonus table here. We could select the range here, but remember if it's on another sheet that may not be the best way to do it. You could also, under the Formulas tab, come up to where the names grouping is and choose Use in Formula. I'm going to choose the bonus table, and you can see it plugged it in and it already puts all the values there. The next one says column underscore index underscore number. And that basically means which column in the table do you want Excel to actually pull the value from. When you talk about the table, it does not recognize this first column is I and the second one is J. It sees it as column 1, column 2, and so forth. We know we can't pull from the first column because that's the comparison column. So in this case, we can only pull from column 2. So that's all that is. Now this last one, here's why it's optional. You have the ability in Excel when you're doing a VLOOKUP to have it find the closest match like we're doing, or to find an exact match. If you type in this field the word true or nothing at all, it will find the closest match. If you want it to find an exact match, you have to type the word false in that particular field. I'm going to leave it blank and click OK. And now you can see that Hanover gets a bonus of 8. Let's go ahead and do one more. Let's do Maunder. I'm going to start with my equal sign. I'm going up to the Insert function. I'm going to choose VLOOKUP and click OK. The first thing it wants to know is which cell do you want it to look up. In this case, it's going to be E7. The next thing it wants to know is where's the table you want it to look through. Remember, this is where I'm going to choose the Use in Formula option and pick Bonus Table. And the third thing it wants to know is which column in the table do you want to pull from. It'll be a number 2 in this case. We're going to leave Range Lookup empty since we're not looking for an exact match, and I'm going to click OK. And now you can see he's got a 2. His total is 52, which is after 50 and before 68, so he gets a 2 bonus right there. And that's how a VLOOKUP works. Let me go ahead and copy the rest of these down, and they should all be correct. Keep in mind, like I said, there are also HLOOKUPs. Instead of looking through a column of information, you might want it to look through a row of information. And you can have as many columns and as many rows in your table as you'd like. Well, that's how a VLOOKUP works. Just practice that a little bit and you'll find that they're pretty easy to do. I want to take you now over into section 3 and let's talk a little bit about what we call data validation.